Coming up in this episode.
When we got home, I was like, wow, so this baby, this person is actually going to rely on us for every single thing because he can't move, he can't walk yet. And he actually relies on us for everything. That's a whole new thing.
That was the big problem with Web3 is accessibility, right? And it was so friction heavy for anyone who didn't really understand an enormous amount of it, and those that didn't understand an enormous amount got screwed over.
Now, when you start a business, you have a business, but you also have a media company. Whether you like it or not, you need a media company. You need to produce content in one way, shape, or form. You have your social media, but you also need to produce content.
The Founders Unplugged podcast.
So,
George, how are you?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm good. Yeah, a bit flustered. I just come straight out from a meeting, straight into this, and this is the first episode of the new season. I feel like I'm out of practice. I haven't done it for weeks. So yeah, how's things been going with you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Literally just having a strategy session today, and I completely almost forgot that we have this call. So it's going to be a break from having heavy paperwork on my mind. But yeah, no, I'm excited.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Well, listen, the way I like to kick these things off is let's get you to introduce yourself to the listeners and the watchers.
Right.
Tell us about you. Tell us about what you're working on.
Sure. Is it do you want the long version or the short version?
Hey, look, man, we've got 2 hours. You go as long or as short as you like.
I'll give a bit of backstory. So
yeah, sure.
So I'm George, Osei-Oppong Jr. I'm 30 years old now. Wow. Forget that.
It creeps up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I was born in the UK. Parents are from Ghana. I'm from Ghana also. I lived there for a while. Went to school there for a bit, for like five years or so. Came back here, went through school, etc. My main things that I got from school was mainly IT and business, ironically. I then had a stint at a football academy for about a month or so. 2 reasons why I left. One, I didn't want to break my leg. And the second reason was I wasn't able to study anything that was actually going to help me in life. So one of the things that I was studying was sports science, and no offense to anybody that's doing sports science, but it just wasn't my path. So I left. My mom always told me to make sure I had a backup plan, so I left. I then obviously went to college, done my IT diploma, and they're called BTEC National Diploma here. So I did that. After that, I didn't get into university. Fun fact is, I actually wanted to be a aerospace engineer. Crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my mom always told me that apparently I wanted to do piloting when I was a kid. I do remember saying that. I'm not sure why I said it, but and then I kind of wanted to go into that because I found planes interesting because they're flying engines.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find that out, but didn't have the right maths grades. I also failed the maths test because it was like rocket science maths, and that was not my portion, I guess. But I did actually get offered an apprenticeship after with KLM to do piloting as well, but I turned it down. I then obviously done my apprenticeship in IT, got my first role, which needed me to create a business at my first role was at Sainsbury's head office, which kind of kickstarted my IT career. To be an IT analyst, I had a background from my apprenticeship working at a company called Real Business Applications, of like dealing with EPOS and retailer software. So I had a background in understanding how stores operate and how they operate through their till systems and the EPOS side of things. It was still quite new. This was like 2012, 2013. So EPOS systems were still like scary, almost like AI at the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like self-checkouts, etc. So this was for Sainsbury's. I joined the store side, which was kind of helping manage like store shutdowns and liaising with third-party engineers like NCR, OCR, etc. to kind of come in, do fixes, shut down stores, etc., etc. After that, I went into, I guess, a long career, mainly contracts. And like I said, I was about, I think, 18 at the time. I had to set up my own company. I had a private business account, which was crazy at that age. 'Cause I didn't know how it worked. It was so old school that I had to go into Santander, which here, to basically do a fax to transfer money around. So I had online banking, but my online banking was only for me to view my balance. I couldn't do nothing with it. So yeah, no, very, very good time, very interesting time. My accountants at the time, Churchill Knight, they helped me understand everything that I kind of needed to know. They set up the business for me, set up the accounts for me, done all my accounting, like VAT registered me, done everything, which was pretty cool. Helped me a lot because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. The only thing I was drawing from was my secondary school business that I was using at the time to kind of understand all the different terms that they was using. So yeah, thanks to my business teacher for that, because that helped quite a bit. So yeah, no, after that, yeah, so I went into a stint of doing different roles. I done, I was a consultant, I was a project manager. I still done tech support. I've worked at companies like IBM, Nationwide here, which is a bank here, Capgemini, a few other kind of blue chip like companies. My main thing that I enjoyed was actually working with smaller businesses, which is strange because everybody likes big corporate, but I liked the smaller companies. Because what I learned in smaller companies is they're not a lot less structured, but they're more open to learn more. So you could be the IT person, but you will learn like a different department while you're in IT, if that makes sense. And you just learn a lot more. There's so much like stuff to learn. So that's always been in my mind. I've always gone to a big company and then go to a smaller company. But there was another reason. I think the other reason was also a smaller company recognizes your value more as well, which is interesting. So a big company may pay you, let's say 100K, whereas a small company, if they have the budget, they'll probably pay you 150, 200 plus if they have the budget. So it's always interesting. So I always kind of kept that in mind, and I loved that for some reason. It was just always there in the back of my mind, to do that. So yeah, I guess after 11 years or 10 years or so, COVID hit. This was 2019, well, late 2019. I was kind of one of the people, not only people, one of the people that kind of realized that COVID was happening because all the big investors were coming out of stocks. I knew something was happening. Obviously, every 10 years or so, something happens. It was kind of due for something else to happen on that financial landscape. So I was paying attention to that. I had a contract at the time at Queen Street, which is like a community building company. I was doing a transformation project there at the time. And basically, I kind of saw what was happening. So maybe I think it was January. So January or so, my contract ended because I think the president of Canada, if I'm not mistaken, the wife of the president caught COVID at one of our centers, and they had to basically shut down. They had to basically stop for a while, close all their sites, and then I was let go. So during that time, I done some odd stuff, and then I started I really ramped up my investing. So during that time, I had been studying investing maybe since I was in college, I would say, first year of college. So that's I don't know what that's equivalent to in America, but first year of college, you've come out of school, high school, you're 16, 17, you go into college for 2 years or so. So I started looking at pensions, ISAs, etc. So I had already started building up a watch list of companies that I was really interested in, that I wanted to buy into and become a shareholder of. So during that time, done that. During 2020, I bought a lot of companies. So I bought probably about 200 plus at the time. I was angel investing as well, me and my partner angel investing probably about 3 companies or so. And then I spent a lot of money basically during that time, a lot of savings and that, just kind of trying to future-proof my life basically. And just, trying new stuff and learning a bit more as well. So yeah, so during that year, I was almost in limbo because, I had 10 years experience in IT. Didn't know if I wanted to go back into it or not. I enjoyed the investing side, making, turning one into two, etc., etc. I'd done a lot of I done a random job, which is actually work at Amazon warehouse for like a month. Because I was thinking about years prior to that, I went to Turkey to basically look at I also run a hair care business, or my partner runs that business, but I'm involved. I started that business in 2017 when I started growing my hair. There was no like natural black products, so I looked into creating my own organic products that can help myself. So have like a hairspray and also like hair oil. So I started looking into that. I went with one of my business partners at the time, went to Turkey to kind of speak to some manufacturers and, looking at different bottle types, etc., etc. So a lot of groundwork. So I went to work at the Amazon warehouse mainly because I wanted to learn what a warehouse, how it looks, how it works, what the production line looks like, all of that kind of stuff, all the intricacies of it. Got some great experience there. I was there for like a month. I left. I then got headhunted by a major recycler in the UK called Wrap. I was there for about 6 months or so. I then went back to my odd phase and learned about coffee shops. So I went to go and work at Costa for like a month or so. Two reasons. My partner loves coffee. I never knew what to talk about when she spoke about coffee. And I thought, great time, because I've never done any of those type of jobs before. So I thought, great time to go and learn. Instead of me paying, or like, I can get paid and also learn how to make coffee. And we're also looking at starting our own like burger truck situation. Because I think for me at the time, again, in limbo, but also new. I've always known from young, but I've always known that I wanted to have that freedom of being able to like really have my time, because when you're younger, you don't really think about how a 9-to-5 is affecting your livelihood. Because I had a time where I was working 2 corporate jobs, Monday to Sunday, for about 3 months straight. So I think one was 9-to-5 from the Monday to Friday. The second one was, I think, Saturday 12 to 8. So I was doing that for about 3 months straight. And then after that, I guess when I got to this stage in my life, I was like, I want more time. Obviously, I had my son in 2020, September. And I kind of realized then that, I definitely want to be around more. I had a situation where I had a contract. I had an investment bank, a private investment banking firm. And the manager there, the IT, I guess, head of IT there, he had a kid and he had to come back 2 weeks after. And I could see in his face that, he didn't want to be at work. He wanted to be spending time with his kid. So that was kind of in my head as well. So when my kid came, it kind of triggered it for me again, that, I don't want to be away from my son. I want to be with my family. I want to do stuff, but I still want to earn money. How do I work that out? So we was just thinking about, was brainstorming ideas, looking at different things, trying different things. I have a friend that owns, someone that I know on the food truck. So we went to go and look at that, see what that was like. So I had to learn the stuff. That kind of fell through. But what I missed out is in February 2021, we actually bought Hosthelp during that time. And that was like something that kind of happened as of me doing the investing stuff, thinking about it. I started buying websites and apps maybe in 2017 just to kind of figure out what that looks like, but I left it. I didn't go back to it. I just kind of broke sites apart, took apps apart, learned how all of that looks, tried some stuff, made money online just to kind of see what that looks like. But then life got in the way, got busy, and then forgot about it. Good thing I did that, because obviously when we got Hosthelp, we bought from an American founder who had a portfolio of about 17, 18 cash flowing websites, businesses that, he runs, and he was trying to get rid of a few. So we got it. And it was like a web hosting affiliate company at the time. So after my stints, I think I'd done my last contract, which was I'd done 2 more contracts, one at a college and another one at a company that was like a National Housing Federation. So similar to what you guys have in the US with like social housing, etc. They deal with social housing in the UK.
I'm in the UK. I'm not in the US.
Oh, you're in the UK? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was in the US. Sorry. Yeah, so we deal with social housing here. and the lobby, like, the work of government to kind of change laws and policies around that kind of stuff. So yeah, very interesting stuff. And then, but one thing I took from there, which is quite interesting, is even though we was running the hostel during that 2021 period, there was a lot of stuff that was happening, which I'll go through anyway in more detail. The last contract that I took, the head of IT there, very intelligent, loved the way he done stuff. So he obviously, I guess, is more of an ideas person. He's still technical, but he's more of an ideas person, and he knows how to run a team. He's got a very good management style around it, but he leverages third parties. So he has a third party that manages like Wi-Fi and I guess the servers, etc., and also has third parties that do other things. So he leverages other people's intelligence. So he was the only one there, bear in mind. So he had a lot of, well, him and someone else, but at some point it was him, and then I came on. I came on as like a systems admin. So yeah, he leveraged everybody, and that was very interesting for me, which is kind of how we kind of started figuring out ways to do stuff. So he was very big on cloud, done a big cloud transformation project while we was there. I came in when he already started. There was about 100+ servers. He chopped them down to about 20 or so servers. He done a lot of Azure stuff during that time, a lot of AWS stuff, ripping out servers, putting new hardware in, putting new backups and all that kind of stuff. So the whole, I guess, cloud transformation side, I've always enjoyed cloud, but he brought cloud down to me at a level that I could actually use it and understand it and work with it and really learn how efficient it is, because he was really an advocate for putting everything in cloud. And yeah, that kind of changed my way of thinking. And then I left there in September 2022 now. And that's when I've just gone full time into Hosthelp.
So tell me a bit more about Hosthelp. What does it do? What, yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, sure. So Hosthelp is a digital growth partner, or just a growth partner. We help individuals and businesses, startups, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, etc. We help them start, build, and scale. The main reason being is we are able to, if you come to us, what the Hosthelp way looks like is you come to us for your domain hosting, then like logo, branding, your website, your SEO, and then your email marketing. Those are the steps that we go through. But in addition to that, we also have platforms that can help as well. So we've got a cloud storage platform, website analytics platform, 2 SEO platforms that's like for auditing and live reporting. And we also have a new AI platform that we've recently built, which basically helps you. Again, it's like an AI-powered content generator, but a bit different from some of the others where we already have pre-coded prompts and templates. So if you want content for your website, content for a blog, content for your newsletter, etc., we've got 54+ templates I think we have now, that kind of helps you create content holistically as well. And then we also have the chat feature, of course, that everybody loves. We help you transcribe audio, we help you create images, all that good stuff, basically.
Wow, so it's really a very holistic solution, essentially.
Exactly, yeah.
So what kind of businesses are you primarily working with Hosthelp?
We work, it's funny because we actually are for, I guess, startups, small businesses, etc. But we've been having a lot more bigger companies come to us. So one of our clients is a called Pension Jar. They are actually a pension provider. So like a new style pension provider, like I guess almost like a fintech business. We have one of our clients is a virtual assistant, executive assistant provider. One of them is a brewery. So like quite a large range of clients. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually.
Yeah, you're doing a lot. So, I mean, first of all, thanks for the intro. That was like easily the longest one I've had on one of these, but it was, but you've done a lot, so it makes sense. Like, so a lot of stuff to unpack there of what you've been up to over the years. So, but like one thing stood out. You were saying about how you went through a period of buying a lot of different companies, Hosthelp included. Like, do you still have a portfolio of companies? Are you still an active investor? And because I know a lot of people listening obviously would be very interested to get in your inbox.
Definitely. I've definitely sold a bit. I've come out of some companies. I haven't come out of any of my angel investments though. I've kept them in. I'm gonna just kind of ride the wave of those. But like more the traditional investing, I've come out of some. Some I've actually been forced out of because of transformation, selling a company or whatever. We've had
restructuring and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, buying shares back, all that kind of stuff.
So you're just sticking with angel investment for now. And so what's your typical sort of ticket size with your investments?
We normally go from like 10 plus, and mainly because we want to spread as much as we can. We've had conversations now about looking at building like a Hosthelp fund, or our parent group fund, where we like maybe put like $1 million together and just invest into new companies, into new founders. We've been thinking about that as well. What we might do is either we dice it up or we give that 1 million to one person to do what they need to do. So we're thinking about that. That's what we're going to come in the next year or two. That's something that's in the works. But yeah, definitely previously our ticket size has been around 10 plus. Our biggest investment today is probably in like Berkshire Hathaway or something. I think that was like, one of our larger ones, but that's like a one-off.
So what kind of businesses attract you the most when it comes to investment? Like, do you have a particular investment thesis? Do you have specific verticals that really speak to you, or are you pretty agnostic when it comes to that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think in general I'm pretty agnostic. I've always wanted to be in every sector. We've achieved that now. So now when I look at businesses, given my own experience, because I hadn't run a startup before or a new business or anything like that, now I'm looking at founders mainly, ones that are proactive. My main thing is looking at someone that, even though they're going for investment, even if they don't get that investment, that business will still go, they'll still push and they'll still keep going. That's something that is very hard to find, because I've spoken to founders that have told me that they need investment, but if they don't get investment in the next 6 months, the business is finished. To me, that's
that's a huge red flag.
You don't have a business at that point. For me, like, we've never taken investment. We've bootstrapped the whole time. We've put our own money in. We've had many offers on the table this year, especially. We've turned them all down. We really believe in what we're doing. Like, that kind of stuff is what I look for. I look for the kind of characteristics that we show towards our business. We look for that from others as well.
Yeah, they're like bloody-minded determination to make it work no matter what. And I agree. Like, and I think this is something that in fact investors have a lot to answer for over the last 5 to 10 years of creating this environment which has changed recently, but creating this environment where the way of creating a business for a lot of first-time founders is thinking, oh, okay, I have an idea, and if I get the investment, then I can build the idea. Yeah. And while that might be true to a very, very small number of businesses, that are like major disruptive businesses where, it does need like 100,000, 500,000 in order to get to a place where it can go to market. For most, you can go with a very, very strapped together MVP, bootstrap, get some initial revenue, get some initial traction. So if they're relying on any form of investment to even get going, and they're just going to sit on their hands waiting for it to happen, huge red flag, because there's so much they can be doing early on to get things moving. I agree with you 100%.
There's so much more. I think one of the things I've noticed is like people don't want to spend their own money, but want you to spend your money. It's like that doesn't work for me. That's a very...
It's also because as an advisor, I speak to a lot of first-time founders who just want to know, how do I start generating revenue? How do I get traction? Because of the feedback they're getting from all investors right now, which, like I said, isn't a bad thing. Even in angels are saying, we want to see traction. We want to see you, generating revenue. We want to see how many customers, and that's good, because now it's kicking everyone up the arse. And now they're coming to people like me and saying, how do I do that? And I'm like, good. I'm glad you asked. You have to work. You have to grind. You have to pick up the phone. You have to knock on doors. You have to get, take people's names and numbers and you know what I mean? And it's actually getting, and it's separating, I hate to say it, but it's separating the weak from the strong in a lot of ways, and they're like, when people are realizing I'm not cut out for this, it's like, well, then you're not cut out to be a founder. Because even if you were to have got that money, you would have just pissed away that money anyway. So because if that work still needs to come, even if you get 20K or 200K or whatever, you still would have had to do that work. The difference is you would have just been able to employ a lot of people to fuck up the work for you. But if you can't give them the right direction, then what's the point?
100% agree. No, 100% agree. I think for me, one of the things that I've realized is that without you really going out there and understanding your business, because bootstrapping really helps you to understand your business, helps you understand the finances, it helps you understand what decisions to make. You'll make mistakes, but those mistakes will hurt you. They'll hurt you so much that you'll want to figure out why that mistake happened, and you'll never ever want to repeat that mistake again.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't learn that from someone giving you 500K and saying, good luck. That's not going to help anyone. Plus, for me, taking an investment, I think, is not smart unless if the person that's giving you the investment is going to help you figure out what you're doing in terms of what you're going to do with that money. I would prefer to invest in someone that says they need $1 million, but they also need someone to help them. And at the same time, they don't want that whole $1 million in one go. They'll rather draw it down, because then you get the money in stages. It still kind of gives you that bootstrap mentality, because you know that if you mess up this 5K or 10K drawdown, for example, that that's not going to come again, because you start things like that. There just needs to be different ways of
some boundaries and some guidelines. I always say to people that they should strive to be shit at something before they can strive to be good at something. That should be the goal. Go out there and be crap at it. Because you will be. So if you put that in your mind already of I'm going to be crap at this thing, that's a good thing. It gets over that first hurdle, because the fear for most people is they're going to be crap and they're not going to be immediately good. But the reality is that's never how anything works. It's just about sort of diminishing amounts of being crap at something and slowly increasing amounts of being good at something. That's what it really comes down to. And by the time you're good at it, you won't even recognize it anymore. And you'll be on to the next thing that you'll start being crap at. It's just removing that fear of failure in the first place, isn't it? Really.
I'm with you, definitely, because when we first got Hosthelp, the previous founder, done an amazing job. He was making money, everything was good. We got the business probably like a month or two after our revenue dried up, because we wasn't doing what the previous founder was doing. We've invested in that business for about 2 years plus, to only about maybe a couple months ago where we actually started seeing some revenue that was substantial, and we've been doubling that ever since. Our year-on-year growth looks like 110% plus because of what we've been doing.
Nice.
Since we started figuring out where we want to go. Now we're just working on getting more and more super clear about what we're doing, what we're providing, trying to explain it a lot better. But doing that process, I never wanted to be a CEO. I didn't really care about that. I was more wanting to be a CTO. That's what I always thought of when I was younger and I was doing IT. That I want to be a CTO because that's just the highest level of IT you can get to. I kind of fell into this CEO situation because my partner is more from an advertising, account manager, and project management background. She wasn't going to run the business. I understand tech to a certain degree, so that kind of gives me a bit more edge in that field. So we kind of said, okay, let me just do it and then let's figure it out. So I always said that Hosthelp is going to be the business that I use to figure out how to start a business from zero and turn it into a blue chip, essentially. That's my ambition. But yeah, I've used it to learn all my, we've made mistakes, of course, zero revenue for quite a few years is not a joke. And even when I left my corporate job, Hosthelp was not making even 10% or 1% of what my salary was when I left. I had a very comfortable situation. I left that to focus on this because I had to make a choice at that point, because it's either I focus on Hosthelp wholeheartedly or I just leave it and just focus on my corporate career. And I was like, the corporate side is not giving me what I need. It's not fulfilling me in life to figure out what I want to do next, and what I want to leave for my family or my kids and kind of really get to the point I want to get to. So I had to leave. Not to say that I couldn't accomplish my dreams of a corporate life, I could, but I want to accomplish it this way because this gives me more freedom.
It's interesting you said, because, and you mentioned that before about your kids and the decision that you made there to sort of jump ship, because of a lot of people I speak to, that's a big driving force behind why they want to start their own business. A lot of the time is because, they want that flexibility, and they recognize that their job is just sort of taking more than it's giving, and all that sort of stuff. But I do also think that there's a slight, depending on what people decide to do, there is sometimes a bit of a misconception about what running your own business actually involves, because it can be just as many hours, if not more. It can be just as much of a time and money sink and stressful. And there's plenty of things that you have to do in running your own business that you don't enjoy. And I almost feel like a lot of the time you speak to people who have gone off and run their own business, and years down the road you ask them, was it the right decision? And sometimes they go, no, man, I should have just stayed where I was.
Today is an example, right? It's funny, we went to the gym this morning at I think six something. We left the house, went for a session. We came back. It was like, oh yeah, we've got our session today. Everyone's like, oh, it's bank holiday, it's bank holiday, it's bank holiday. It wasn't hitting me until I got home and I realized it's bank holiday. And my mom was like, oh yeah, time to sleep. And I was like, no, we got our strategy session today. We got and then
startups don't have bank holidays.
No, you don't. But even it's funny, I spoke to one of my team members today. I was like, I didn't even want to call him today. And he was like, no, it's fine, I'm working. Bank holidays for the rich. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And so are weekends.
Literally. You have to work through it, You have to.
I had a client call literally just before we jumped on, and with two individuals. And when it started, they were like, oh, happy bank holiday and stuff. And we were like, yeah, we don't do that, right? And they're like, no, we've been working all weekend. It's like, exactly.
100%. 100%.
But so with that in mind, then, have you come to a schedule, a way of working that is what you expected in relation to being able to spend more time with family and stuff like that, or is it actually a little different than you expected it to be?
What I will say is I definitely have a bit more time. I think that working from home element is very important. That's one thing. Although working from home is not always the best, but in terms of my son can pull me out and kind of get me to take a break and then come back. I think that's one thing that I really enjoy. I think because I was so used to Monday to Friday, weekend still working, I kind of I figured out a way to do it. So my days now are structured between 9 to 12 a.m., but I take breaks in between. So I have 9 to 11, break at 12 to 1. Then I'll go from 1 to maybe 8 or so, break again, and then kind of take it to the 12 a.m. phase, because obviously during that time I'm doing stuff with my family. But I don't do that every day. I can say, you know what, Monday I'm gonna go hard. Tuesday I can take a bit more of a break because I also have a team. Money makes things a lot more easier, of course. And a good team helps a lot. So that kind of helps as well. But my main thing is I'm able to see my son and do stuff with my family whenever, which is, is priceless. And
I agree.
As much as it was hell since September 2022 till recent, would I do it again? Questionable.
Everyone says that. Everyone says that.
Questionable. I definitely wouldn't want to go through what I went through the past year again. That's the truth. Because that was things I'm used to being able to do stuff because I had money to do things. That's very restricted at this point, and at that point, and it was just it will play with your head because one of the things that I realized in this building thing is that it really humbled me because I was even my partner said it to me at some point. She was I was so frivolous with money at times, whereas I'll spend and I won't think about it because I know I'm gonna keep making more. With what I went through, it kind of it's taught me a lot of life lessons because I can't live like that anymore. I've had to really be a lot more frugal. And it's interesting, but
and especially you've got now a team of people whose livelihoods rely on you making the business successful. It's not just you and your family now, it's other people's families, which is a whole other set of responsibilities that I don't think anyone talks about when it comes to the idea of running your own business, and the pressure that can put on people is quite substantial.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
It's not a small thing. But it's funny you mentioned that about, like, would you do it again? Like, the theme of the first season of this podcast was like, there seem to be two things that always come up in most conversations, which was this idea of balance always come up, and this idea of ignorance is bliss. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning that, like, if you knew what was coming, you wouldn't have bought it. You probably wouldn't have done it. But like, you've got to go, just do it blindly. Sometimes there's something to be said for, not listening to what other people say, and how difficult it's going to be, and just finding out by yourself. I think listening to advice as to how to make it easier, or listening to advice to not make mistakes is one thing. But like, if people say, don't do it, it's difficult, it's hard work, ignore them, because otherwise you won't take the big risk that could pay off. Yeah,
you'll never do it. It's funny because I said to my partner, because what led to us, we actually had to leave the country, so we left the UK, went to live in France for a bit.
Oh, nice.
Because of her family's from South France area, so we went to the Alps and really went there for a little while. I said, we're only gonna go for 6 months. We're gonna do it. Business is gonna thrive. Like, I had all these big ideas. 6 months went past. And then at some point, I remember somebody asking me, how long have you been out there for now? And I was like, we've only been there since September. So they're like, like 8-9 months. I was like, damn. Been here almost double the time that I thought 6 months. Because everyone says, 6 months, so straight focus, you do it. I was like, so 6 months. Okay, I'm aiming that by this time in March, we're going to be great. Like, the business is going to be moving. Oh, mate. Nowhere near. It took double that time.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But
I assume you were in a financial position where while you were being frugal, you were at least able to take that risk, right?
I was not.
Were you not able to cash out some of your investments to help with that?
I did that. I had to at some point.
Yeah.
I had to at some point, definitely. I was trying to. That was like my last resort. So I had cash. My partner had cash. Obviously, it was running. We still had other stuff that was bringing in cash flow, but just not what I was used to. That was nowhere near what I was used to. I'd have times where it's like, what's happening? Definitely not what I was used to. It got to a point where, because I've got 2 investment accounts. I've got one that's for retirement that I can't touch. I can't touch that till I'm about 55, 57 or something. But I've got another one, the smaller one, that is like, I can touch that whenever. And I remember looking at one day and I was like, like, if you look at something and do it, sometimes it's like, it's harder. I had to make up the thought in my mind. I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to take this out. Even though I don't want to, I'm going to have to do it, and just, that's it. Like, I can't do anything else, because it's actually very tight right now. So I had to, bear in mind, I've got, my son was 2, just turned 2 then in September. And we went, and that was like, it was very difficult. Like, I can't even explain how difficult it was. I went through every emotion during that time. The only thing I didn't do was cry, but I went through every single emotion. So it's not.
But you didn't give up, and that's the most difficult thing. Yeah,
I actually couldn't, because for me it felt like one of the things I probably hated the most is that I didn't want to fail, and I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it. I've definitely proved that now. But even though I've still got more to prove, but I've proved that I can do it, and that's in itself is very rewarding. I was not going to stop. Even if I had to go another year of going through it, I would have kept on, because there's no way I would have figured out a way to make it work, because I like solutions. If it didn't work, going back to corporate would have been the next thing to do. And didn't want to, that I would just be, I'd have wasted my time. I'd have went to France and done all that stuff for no reason. It couldn't work. Yeah. Luckily.
So aside from the sort of financial side of things, what would you say were some of the sort of biggest roadblockers you came across, the biggest struggles that you encountered that were maybe unexpected when you first sort of set out?
Acquiring customers or clients is probably was one of the hardest things, because when we basically done two things in like 2022 where we got our first platform. We launched our first platform, which was the SEO Studio. And we thought, okay, this platform is going to bring us that. People are going to come on, our prices are great, you know, it's all going to happen. People came on, just didn't do what we was expecting it to do. So there was that. So that was like almost a disappointment, but not a disappointment. We then launched our hosting platform, which was a big one for us. That was like a game changer for us. But our prices are extremely affordable, and obviously because like that's what we are about. We're helping small businesses like ourselves that when we started we didn't have the funds to really pay out and do all that stuff, but we're still giving enterprise grade level. So that was a game changer for us. We launched that first month, we brought on about 30 plus websites. That was great, it was amazing. Didn't bring on any more sites, probably a drip feed, but we never had a month like that again for a while. So that's when in September I started focusing a bit more. Acquiring customers was one of the hardest roadblocks for me. I brought on a business development manager maybe February or March, and that was a game changer for us. But even so, the way he does it, he's got like 22,000+ contacts that are business owners, really high level people. And one of the hardest things for me there was I was expecting to make sales every single call that I was on, but that was not happening because people. One of our board members, Kevin Jackson, he always said to me that people buy from who they know. And obviously I'm going into these sales calls blind. Yes, they know Paul, but they don't know me.
Yeah.
So I'm having a conversation with them. I was getting frustrated at some point. I almost he doesn't know it, but I almost canceled it. I was like, forget this. We're not doing that no more because it's not working. But he always told me to make sure that I shouldn't go with that mentality. I should always think about how I can help them, you know, learn a bit more about them, provide value, etc., etc. And, you know, that actually helped us build like a 7-figure pipeline through Paul and through the people that he knows, through conversations. You know, I met some amazing people. They, you know, referrals, etc. That really helped. But that acquiring, I didn't realize how big that was because for the first 2 years plus, we was mainly building out our infrastructure, our foundation. So we never really focused on the client acquisition strategy, which was in the beginning. But we never really, it's like that was, we're going to get customers, we're going to get clients, it's going to be great, it's going to be great. Like, it's always at the back of our minds, but we was just building. And luckily also I had the job and things like that. But once I let my job go, and I realized that this business actually needs to make money because I have other forms of revenue, but this is my main thing that I'm working on. So other forms of revenue are great, but this is my job. So if I don't make any money from this, then I'm wasting a lot of time because this 100% of my time is going into this day in, day out. Something I'm awake all day, 24 hours I'm awake the whole day working on this, Monday to Sunday, for example. I'm not making any money. This is crazy. So then I have to start thinking, how can we acquire customers? What's the way of us doing this, you know? And one of the game changers for us at that point was getting our email marketing strategy up and running. That was a blind thing that we didn't think was gonna. I read an article by someone, I can't remember what his name is. I really wish I could remember so I could actually shout him out because that was a very good article. It was on email marketing and how we built 10K a month, a 10K a month revenue from email marketing while he had a job. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I looked into it, read his article. After I read his article, I was like, that's it. That's what we're doing. We need to do that. We have to. Because his email marketing is not just selling products, it's getting sponsorships. And that was the game changer. Because normally you'll sell products, you get a list, you know, list building is easy. You get a list, a prospect list, you'll upload it, just power and send emails. But that was old school when email first started. Now you have to look at different ways of doing that and sponsor.
Yeah, they have to hold value. Otherwise, people just unsubscribe and it's just spam, right? We don't need more spam in our lives.
No, we don't. So that was a game changer for us. And that actually enabled me to start figuring out ways to engage clients. And I didn't realize that it was teaching me that at the time because I had to speak to some big brands. We started our email marketing, I think in the first month, we We worked with clients like Masterworks, Blinkist, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, we're like this tiny company that is barely making any revenue, and we're now speaking to some giants, and they're paying us to be on our email list. This is mad, like. And then that actually kickstarted like that. Yeah, we've had a great year since that, to be honest with you.
So yeah, it's interesting you mentioned about client acquisition being something that maybe was thought about a bit too late in the average strategy, because that when a product or a service is the passion, like that isn't something you think about. You just assume people will come. You build it and they will come, right? It's like no, it doesn't work like that. The world is so noisy, the internet is so noisy, no one's going to find you. Like you need to shout about it and have a very clear process as to how you're going to bring people on, how you're going to onboard them, how you're going to talk to them about it, and that's something that if like you say, it takes months to figure out. So it's like, if you think, oh well, we'll start doing it tomorrow, and then we'll start getting our first customers the following month. Nah, mate, like it's going to be months.
We're still doing that now.
Right? Yeah, it's constantly. It needs to constantly evolve and change. Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing you realize is someone that I done like a seminar with, Grant LeBoff, is like a genius marketer. He was like, no one really has a USP. Like everyone thinks they have a USP, but they really don't, because it's your brand that makes you unique and distinguishable. And that was a game changer for me, because everybody always says to me, what's your USP? What's your USP? What's your USP? And I'm like, well, everybody does hosting. Everyone does domains. What is our USP? About using what he mentioned in terms of that brand architecture, looking at your ethos, what's your value proposition, what's your driver, things like that. You start to build something that's really unique. Your brand then starts carrying that weight of what makes you unique in the market. Why should I come to you? You can answer that question a lot more easier. Instead of thinking, my product is the best, it's the unique, everything is like, no, it's not. Everyone does it.
Did you ever watch The American Office?
No.
Okay, so this will be a reference that you might not get then, but like I suggest watching it because it's funny.
Is it one with the
Steve Carell?
Yeah, it's just called Office, right? It's just called Office.
Yeah, The Office.
Yeah. I've watched bits of
the UK ones with Ricky Gervais, but there's an episode, I can't remember which one it is, but there's an episode where basically, because it's about a paper company, and there's a couple of salespeople. They go and meet a client, and the client's gone with their competitor, and they sit down and they have this like this unwritten thing. They don't even talk about it. They just do this whole thing where the two salespeople go in, sit in the office. One of them starts talking about, look, we understand you went with this other competitor, that they can do better pricing. And meanwhile, the other guy, he's acting really weird and kind of distracting the CEO, because he picks up, he's like, can I use your phone quickly? He picks up the phone and he dials, and he just puts the phone down, and he's just waiting like that, and he's just checking that phone. And he's like, what is this guy doing? He's like, I'm currently trying to ring the customer service of the company that you've just signed a contract with, and I've been on hold this entire conversation. But for our customer service team, he like whips out the phone, ring, puts it on speaker, hello, connected straight away. It's like, oh, hi, just checking in. And he's like, so that is the kind of service you get with us. And he's like, oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. I'll sign with you. And the reason why I mention that is because it's like that. The USP isn't like you said. It's like it doesn't necessarily mean you're different. Like these companies in this show, right, in this fake show, they're both providing paper. Right? That's all they're doing. Like and he went with the one that was cheaper, but crappy customer service. It's like what was special about it, to your point, is brand, right? It was how they treat their customers. It's the experience. It's all of that kind of stuff. That's what makes you stand out.
Definitely.
Like that. And so I don't know. So a bit of a random example, but it just made me think of that.
Very good example. Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. Very true.
But so what's next for you in the business? Where is it going? What's the plans? Like you've got quite a lot of, like we've already talked about, quite a lot of your offering now. So like what's where's it going? What's the big plan?
I think for us, what was very important on our journey is having a reputable source that is able to help you and guide you along your journey. And we are really trying to be for our target audience, where as soon as you think about starting a business, you think Hosthelp. Like online business or just a business in general, you think, I want to go to Hosthelp. After you've registered your business, you go to Hosthelp, because you get your domains, your hosting from us, you get your branding, your website, everything from us. it's that one-stop journey, and you'll just grow. And our thing is start, build, scale. That's our model. So we want to help businesses do that. And I think for us, once we really want to become a staple, top of mind, always thinking about how we can do better for our customers, what our clients and whatnot. And we just want to support our community. We want to support the startup community, the small business community, because they are underserved. You don't start your business and think, I'm going to go to Microsoft because I'm going to go and spend how much thousands on their license. You don't think that.
Yeah.
You think, what can I do? As much as you don't want to cut corners, but you want something that is cost effective for your budget, because you don't have $100,000 budget to spend on all of these services. You need to be able to start with somebody that can help you build gradually or build fast, whichever angle you're in. We want to be able to do that. We want to handhold, we want to help, we want to partner with, we want to make sure that community is served. Because if you think about, if you start your business, there's so much noise about who to go to for marketing, for PR, for a website, for all that stuff. It's all confusing. We just want to make that process simple.
That rings so true to me. I mean, that's really a lot of my motivation behind what I do and why I do it. And yeah, the big driving, the thing that I always imagine, and I've imagined this for a few years now, is like some guy or some girl sat somewhere in like a 1-bed apartment, barely able to make ends meet, and they've got an amazing business idea. They're like the next Elon Musk, and the world doesn't get to find out about this person because either they can't afford the advice, they can't afford the services, or it's just like you said, so confusing. Every book that you pick up, every podcast that you listen to, everything has conflicting advice and conflict. It's just, there's a million different ways you can skin the same cat, and it's overwhelming. And it's paralyzing for someone who's just got a great idea. They just need someone to just go, this is what we're doing. And make it affordable. Like, okay, that's why I do the pay as you scale thing, because it's like, I don't need you to pay me $100,000 up front. Pay me $100,000 when you're turning over 10 million.
Of course, then you won't think about it.
Because of actually what you need right now isn't the same level of advice or services you're going to need then. So why should the price be the same regardless of the service? So it's really admirable that you want to help those individuals, because I think they're the most underserved in some ways, because there's so much information about how to start a business. It's overwhelming. It's too much. You just need people who have been there, who have done that, to just break it down simply. Be like, don't worry about all that shit. Let's just, one step at a time. This is the first step. So I admire that, and we need more people like you and more companies like yours to do that. How are you doing? Like, you talked about the community. Like, what are you doing, if anything, to kind of get in front of budding entrepreneurs and things like that? Have you got a sort of strategy there that you're executing?
Yeah, we've got a few. I think so. This year we're going to be at the business show, God willing. We've signed a contract to be on board, so that's one way that we want to speak to new people, because we went there last year. And we spoke to a lot of different people, and we saw a lot of new entrepreneurs there. Thought this is a great format. We're looking at, also, we've got an email marketing strategy. We're still trying to speak to our prospective market. We're also doing a lot of outreach where people are still picking up the phones, calling up, finding out what's going on, and we're now looking at ways of producing content that's going to go on YouTube and to the different places where our target audience are. We're looking at, obviously, networking events, things like that. So, which is a great place to be. So we're going to have people going to these events, networking, having conversations with new businesses, startups, etc. We're trying to. So you'll notice we're not talking about billboards and things like that yet. What we're trying to do is, this is a very organic market. We've been able to build organically with no ads or anything like that for a long time now. So we just want to keep building organically, because what we don't want to do is plaster everywhere with ads where nobody knows who we are. I feel like that's for a later time. That will come.
I agree.
But now, we still got a lot of groundwork to do. We need to, what somebody said to me, and what Grant said to me when we was doing a session, is that if I put 100 of your target audience in this room right now, would they know who you are? And I was like, no. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to spend a lot of time with our target audience, so that they know who we are, so that we're there to help when they're ready, for us to help. So
that's where the line of between sales and marketing really gets blurred, doesn't it? Like you talked about, like your marketing email technique. I mean, I would say that all of what you've been doing is more sales than anything else. Like it's doing the work, it's boots on the ground. It's like, like you said, ads and stuff like that's marketing. That's just making people aware of you. But you're by doing sales, you have the added effect of, if people aren't in a position to buy from you, then they now know who you are. And so, but actually doing the sales groundwork, a lot of businesses when they first start out, they're like, how do I market my business? I'm like, no. That's the wrong mentality to have. You should be talking about how do I sell my products, like because marketing itself is so time consuming and expensive, like compared to actual sales. So it's good that you're just going out there, boots on the ground, knocking down doors and speaking to people directly, because then you have the face of the company, i.e. you, and your other representatives actually there, as opposed to an ad which people can read into however they want, right? And I suppose, would you even know where to start with how to put an ad together now? Like you maybe still in some ways are formulating how you want to present yourself, and so actually all that feedback from the community and your existing customers is going to inform that, right?
Yeah, very important. And even so one thing that kind of like changed my way of thinking about marketing and sales is again, Grant put something in front of me. He was like, marketing is brand to person communication, like what you're mentioning. So like your website and wherever people see your brand, and like sales is person to person communication. So we don't force sell anything. We just tell you what we are doing, and then if that resonates with you, then let's have a further conversation about it. You know what I'm saying? I've never wanted somebody to buy from us from a position of fear, where it's like, we're pressuring them to buy. So, they definitely, we don't want to do that.
It doesn't work in this day and age. I mean, like, otherwise people make purchasing decisions based, like you said, on fear, or just because they feel like manipulation or whatever it might be. And that's never a good way to start a relationship. It's not an ongoing relationship then, is it? And we're dealing in an age now where you generally, when you're purchasing like, a SaaS product or any kind of, these are services, they're ongoing, and so there needs to be a long-term level of trust there.
100%.
Otherwise, it's not like you're making a one-time purchase like a car where someone can twist your arm and make you think make you think if you don't get this car, you're not going to get any of the chicks. Like, and then you're driving away going, wait a minute, I didn't need to buy this car. What have I done? Like, it's not like that anymore,
No, and for us, we try to offer, and especially with our products, they all have free comprehensive packages. So, for example, our email marketing platform gives you up to 2,500 subscribers, and you get 5,000 sending credits. So you can spend that as much as you want. As you would know yourself, if you wanted to get 5,000 email credits, you would have to pay. We because of how we have come up, we understand how hard it is to come up. And one of our things is we're trying to reduce costs, so reduce your overheads, and trying to look at ways that you can effectively do things without you having to spend too much, which is essentially the same thing. But because overheads is something that's killing a lot of businesses, because without enough capital to cover overheads like staffing, etc., you're going to find it hard. And without staffing, you're going to find it even more hard, because you now have to do everything which you might not be skilled to do. You might be skilled in one part of your business, but you're having to do like 100 jobs, which should be really dedicated to other people, but you don't have the money to do that. So we're just trying to make it easier for you, especially on the digital side. We're trying to make things easier for you, reducing our infrastructure costs, reducing our marketing costs, getting you out there. Things like SEO, we start from like £199, which is, again, you would know that that's very cheap. To get backlinks, I've spoken to companies, they're charging 2,000 plus just for backlinks alone. That's not even doing anything else. Whereas in our package, we do on page, we do some off page stuff, which is the backlinks, we do guest posting, we optimize your site, things like that. We've tried to really think from that standpoint of where we started. And then now,
what is it you would have wanted then, basically?
Exactly. So now, and obviously now through speaking to clients, so even when I speak to new people, new businesses, or like new potential clients, I'm not always looking to make a sale. I would love to make a sale because that helps our business grow. But I'm really trying to find out what they're struggling with. So, what aspect of your journey is it, are you having issues with your website? Are you having issues with your marketing? What are you having issues with? Okay, cool. This is X, Y, and Z. We do a lot of stuff for free, even in that consultation process. We try to provide as much information. We build strategies for people, things like that. We don't do it just for money, which again, money keeps the lights on, but we are a value first approach. That's what we have to be, because it's not easy.
It's a great approach to consultative sales too, because I think one of the biggest pitfalls a lot of people make when it comes to consultative sales is that it's like you said, you could be falling in that trap of, you want to, okay, so tell me about your pain points, tell me what you do, and then you pitch back, right? Okay, well, this is what we can do. And if you lean too heavily into that in trying to get the sale as a result of that conversation, I mean, it reeks desperation. But more importantly, the power balance in the conversation, the interaction has shifted. That person feels like they're in charge of, to some degree, because you're kind of begging them. You're like, okay, so you've asked these qualifying questions because you've got them on a checklist, right? And you're going through them, and then you're telling me and you're pitching me, and then you want the sale. And that doesn't feel. That's not conducive to how a relationship. It's not natural. A natural conversation is an equal balance of power in the conversation. And so, if anything, like you said, it's just to pick apart, kind of your approach. I think from what you're describing is you're just basically saying, tell me what you're experiencing, because A, I'm genuinely interested, and B, I might have some actual advice that can help beyond just the product we're offering. And C, our products might be a good fit for you, but more importantly, are you a good fit for our product? And then suddenly that's a very even playing field. It's like, could we work together? According to, are the stars aligned, as opposed to, would you choose us? Please, sir, will you choose us? You know what I mean? It's a very different dynamic. And suddenly there's a lot more respect there, and people feel more at ease. And, they'll either walk away from that conversation going, no or yes. But more importantly, in some ways, I'd imagine you might even turn around and say, actually, by the sounds of it, there's probably other things you can do. We're not right for you.
Of course.
And that's what you should do.
Important. It's very important. I think most businesses end up getting like bad reviews and things like that because of that pushy nature. I learned this.
Well, it's because they think every single time they're on a call, they have to make a sale, otherwise it's wasting their time. So no, every single call you have, you're learning something. And it's an opportunity to build a relationship. That's what you get out of it.
Exactly. I mean, I remember I had one of the hardest jobs when I was younger as a sales representative for a company that was trying to get people back to BT. That was like hardest thing ever, because people have left BT for a reason. Every single person. That was a very interesting time for me, because that kind of taught me that, people are proud to pay for things that they want to pay for. So for me, for example, when I've used products, I get an idea of, oh, wow, this is really good. I'm happy. I don't think about the price. I just want to pay. And that's kind of where I think of when I think about creating things and doing things that people actually want to do.
Because the value you assign to the things that we pay for isn't based on money. It's based on, does it save me time? Does it entertain me? Does it make me laugh? Does it make me more money? It's like, that's how we perceive things. Like, I always use the Netflix subscription as an example of that. Like, the value of Netflix is way more than £15.99 for me and my family a month. Like, it's way more than that. It's like, a cost of a ticket in the cinema is way more than that, for one movie. So, and there's infinite movies there. It's like, so my looking at that on my bank statement every month isn't like, oh, that's $15.99 or whatever it is. It's like, that is family entertainment. That's able to entertain my child while I'm working. That's whatever it is. That's laughs, that's happiness, that's sadness, it's storytelling. Like that's the value that's intrinsically in our heads, isn't it? It's very different.
100%. No, I think that piece there is very important. I mean, I remember I learned that proud to pay model from Nipsey Hussle, that passed away, RIP. But he was always saying that, because he had a mixtape that was like $100, and which is crazy, because people was only buying. I think people weren't even buying mixtapes, which is mad. So people wanted this stuff. He made sure that he would provide an extra value, to the point people was, they was proud to pay. That's the truth. Like, you have to be happy to pay for stuff. And I always use that example whenever we're, having meetings and talking about how we're gonna grow the business and things like that. I want people to be, it's a no-brainer for them. They just want to, they want to pay, they want to start, they want to do stuff, they want to work with us. And our team is so dedicated to helping. That's at our core, is helping, because we understand what you're going through. We understand how we can help. This is how we can help, and what we're going to do to make sure. And it's a very transparent process. We don't hide anything. There's no hidden charges. We say everything up front. If there's going to be another charge in the future, you will know. Like there's
transparency.
No,
But music's a really interesting one to bring up, because music elicits feelings in people, right? And obviously, since the dawn of like Napster and streaming and all that kind of stuff, music struggled to make money. But I don't know. I'm assuming you might be into music based on that comment. But I don't know about you, but for me at least, I will be happy to pay for someone's music. Because the feeling that they as an artist give me, and they as their songs give me. The reason why so many people in the music industry are complaining about the fact that music doesn't make any money anymore is because most of the music's shit. Right. So the connection there is lost with a lot of pop music. There's even been some studies on pop music recently about how harmonically and structurally, music has basically all become the same. It's homogenized. If you listen to pop music over the last 50 years or so, even like the compression put on music is crushing. There's the harmonies. There's no real sort of new sounds occurring. It's all become the same. But then if you go to indie music or underground music, there's a difference there. And like you said, people are buying mixtapes. People are buying indie pressed vinyls and stuff like that, because they care. They resonate with the artist. Like I've just got really into an artist called Ren, for example. I shout about him all the time because of you. Once you start listening to his stuff, A, you want to listen to his entire discography because he's amazing. But B, he's focused on building a community with actual messages. Like hip hop when it used to have a message, not because of it was just about jumping up and down and not really thinking about the lyrics.
Exactly.
Like that's when people are willing to pay 50 quid, 100 quid for an original vinyl, original artwork, and you know what I mean? Like that's where it needs to come back to.
No, it's an experience, definitely. It's funny because we built artist websites and things like that. And when we're fortunate, one of our project managers comes from the music industry as well, and entertainment industry, and he understands all that stuff. And obviously he's run businesses before, so he also understands successful ones as well. So he understands how that works. We're very fortunate. So when we build like artist websites, we always build with their target audience in mind, which is different because most people just build and say, we're going to build a site, we're going to put your music on there, and that's it. We'll see you later. Whereas we really think about what that journey looks like. You want your fans to come on there, or potential fans to come on there, view your stuff, look at what the different interests are that that they might be interested in, your different stuff that you got going on, your media, your press, all that stuff. They want to know more. They want to learn more about you. That's the personal side of things. And even if we look at business as well, the new businesses or the new way of doing business is building that community. Is really going out to your community, understanding your community, building that, and then they get excited about what you do. They then also go out and let our people know about what you do, and it's just really building that personal connection, because business is one thing, organization is another thing, and a company is another thing, where it's a sense that it's just a group of people. So it's a group of people that have come together to organize something that is a vehicle to make money. That's all it is. So that vehicle that makes money takes care of the team, and it takes care of whatever else that is needed, the cost of providing whatever they're providing. But the core of that business is the people that buy into the business, because all your clients, etc., they're all your investors. That's how you have to see it. You can't see it as a customer your customer.
It's not an us versus them. It's a collaborative. Ecosystem. It's funny because I think the gaming industry has had this right for a really long time. It's going. I don't know if you follow much to do with the gaming. I try and follow as many industries as possible, but the gaming industry, it's got its problems now, but it's done this right for many years. Where it was this idea of having a closed alpha, an open alpha, a closed beta, open beta, and getting people to come in and test, and building Discord servers, and asking people for feedback, and all this sort of stuff. And now you're finally seeing that more and more. Like we're doing that, for example, with my SaaS startup. You're seeing that more and more happen now as a standard go-to-market or commercial strategy, and it's a beautiful one because it means, first of all, the products are being built, or the companies are being built by the community.
Yeah.
And what they want is number one, or should be number 100%. One priority. Exactly. But then, of course, you've got a built-in, mass of buyers ready for when you do actually start selling it. They're ready, and they have ownership over it because they help shape it. And it's like, it's a no-brainer. If it works for gaming, why doesn't it work for other businesses?
No, it's very true. I mean,
and they do it with movies even. They do test screenings. Yeah. And then they do reshoots, and they often get that wrong, but like that's a whole other issue. But find out what people want before you make something, right?
Yeah, definitely. Build of the end in mind almost. But
exactly.
For us, we've always built platforms, and the platforms that we've built have always been like beta mode, because I genuinely want to find out, what people think about it. And even with the new AI tool that we've launched, I said, we're going to do it unlimited free for now. We're going to have packages later, but I genuinely just want feedback. What do you think? Because there's so much AI tools out there. Is this actually something that you can use that you find helpful? And people are saying, if everyone said no, they shut it down, we wouldn't have launched it anymore. And
more importantly, would you pay for it? And if you would, how much would you pay for it? That's the question a lot of people forget to ask. You can, a lot of time people are sat there trying to figure out, meetings and meetings about pricing and about, all that. It's like, just ask. Find out how valuable it is, especially with something like AI, when there's so many tools out there for AI right now, like you said, that it's very easy to rack up so many subscriptions. It's like a bit like the whole Netflix thing. You can have a subscription for Netflix, for Disney Plus, for this and this. It's like, which one is the one that people don't cancel at the moment? Netflix, because it's the one that consistently adds value. That's like ChatGPT or Midjourney right now. All these other ones are popping up, and it's like, well, do I really want to pay for another one? Well, then ask them, find out what is needed in our offering for you to add this to your billing every month, along with ChatGPT and Midjourney and whatever else you're buying.
It's true. They're all free. So
right, exactly. Well, the Midjourney and ChatGPT, if you want to use them for long term, you have to pay for them, don't you?
Yeah. There's that.
Yeah, Midjourney especially. Like I'm denied about paying for that. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd use it enough to warrant it, but it's cool.
I mean, for with that specific tool, when we built it, it was more about, there's this whole thing about prompts, and people don't really know what prompts to use, and especially because I've worked with companies that haven't had a marketing department, and their department that was maybe doing some stuff on Twitter is now having to do stuff on Canva, and then having to do stuff on creating content and things like that. And it's like, they're not really for that. They might just not to use their own social media. Now they have to do company stuff. Now they're trying to figure out blogs and things like that. They're trying to figure out SEO. So I've had to coach teams on how to do that. And I just thought, you know what? Let me just put all the stuff that's in my head onto this platform, give it to people, and then they can use it, and it might be useful. Because, for example, when we build sites, we have a content package, which is like an unlimited content package where we create all the content for your site. It's a monthly package, because depending on how long it takes, we might need to, you might need to go and do another month, because you might need some more content. So I thought, you know what, we're charging people for this, which is great. But if we had this platform, more people could use it, and it could probably be a case where we're not just for websites that we build, but for their own sites that they already have. They could also, I'm thinking about different ways that people can use it, because that's how I would think if I was using it. ChatGPT is great, but I have to literally put everything in myself. Yeah, it's going to give you suggestions, but I mean, come on, no one cares about that. I just want to go and click on this. Okay, I want a newsletter. Boom, subject line, description. Write me something. That's what I want. I don't want to now write, I want a newsletter that says and that's long. I just want to, create it, send it off, and be on my way.
So is it like going to be based on a specific database that you're training the model on, like of a knowledge base written specific to that company, or specific to your company? Like how is it you're approaching it?
So we're using the back end of OpenAI, of course. But we do also have like a learning aspect in there, machine learning aspect in there, that looks at the different patterns, looks at the data, looks at ways that we can improve it. We're going to keep kind of working on new prompts, new templates, seeing what people are asking. We're able to obviously kind of see the back end of what people are asking, what kind of responses we're giving, looking at improving that, looking at creating more templates around what people are asking, if there's anything that we're missing, and such. That's just going to keep growing that side and really building that out and just making it easier for people to create content, because content is going to be something that is going to be so big at some point that people need to be able to keep pumping out more content. And again, something that I've heard recently is, now when you start a business, you have a business, but you also have a media company. Whether you like it or not, you have a media company. You need to produce content in one way, shape, or form. You have your social media, but you also need to produce content. You can't run away from that. So whether you like it or not, you have a media business as well. So you have to also think with that in mind. So which
is just so overwhelming, like, isn't it? Like, going back to what we said about making it simple for people, and why your business is this, why my business is, like, that's such an overwhelming concept to get your head around. Because, like, when you said about at the beginning about your journey and how you worked with an accountant and they told you about what to do, like, there's so much to learn in the process of running your own business, right down from like how to register on Companies House to like managing your account. Should I be VAT registered? Should I not? And then to find out among all of this stuff, go to market strategy, building a community, building your product, your sales strategy, your marketing strategy. Oh, fuck. Now I'm also a content agency. It's like, what?
Exactly.
How am I going to have time for that?
No, it's true. It's true. And it's always going to be changing. I'm sure in the next few years, we also have to be a tech company by default as well. You need to build your own products, you need to build your own platforms, because that's just where things are. So yeah, man, there's almost so much to learn. But what I really enjoy out of it is because there's so much to learn. You learn new things, it teaches you new skills, and you just have to adapt. I mean, look, to make this comparison to the music industry again, like, I remember seeing when, production was, traditionally used to be in studio, and then suddenly people had the tools to do it in-house. Well, what happened was you suddenly started seeing artists who were able to manage themselves, to market themselves, to sell themselves, produce their own music, write their own music. The ones that could do it all, amazingly successful. Like Ren is the example I made up earlier. He's a great example of someone who's done it all himself, makes his own videos and everything. And it's like, that is the level of skill set you need to be a founder, to be an entrepreneur. Is you need to be able to not necessarily do everything really, really well. You need to have a base level understanding and not be afraid to try all these different things, and then recognize what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and as you grow, delegate the stuff that you're not good at, and then be like, But I mean, that for what you just mentioned there is very important, because you can't tell somebody what to do if you don't know what to do. With us, we've done every single part of our business. We understand it enough to pass on tasks to people that are better than us, that can also improve it. But without you knowing every aspect of your business from the beginning, you may not know later, because people will be handling stuff and you'll be able to trust your team to a certain degree that you won't have to think about it. But without you knowing how your business works, you're not going to be able to explain it to anyone. You won't know who to hire, because what are they going to be doing?
And that's the most difficult thing about running a business in the earlier stages, is there's so many unknowns. It's like hard. Yeah, I mean, not only about the business and about whether or not it succeed, your customer base, but about yourself. You don't really know what you're good and not good at in the beginning, because you haven't done any of it. And so it's really difficult. And it's very difficult to take criticism as well early on, because you're in that mood of thinking, I can do it all. Well, sometimes some people are the complete opposite, but but most of the time, if you're crazy enough to start your own business, you're usually quite arrogant in the sense that you think, I can do it. I can do anything I want. There's a level of arrogance. And so if someone says to you, no, you can't, like, you'll take that pretty personally. Like, you have to learn yourself that you can't do it. You're not going to really pay attention to other people.
I think and that's why it's interesting, because starting a business and then actually building a business, two different different ways of view is needed. Because when you start, they're not listening to people. The stubbornness is great, but it only gets you to the building stage.
And then you need to start listening.
But I think it's always very, 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 very important to have a foundation as a founder or as a business owner or whatever, to make sure that you understand who you are, what you are, and what you can and can't do. Those things are like immutable. That's just, as a human, we need to know that.
Yeah. A
Once
bit
you
of
make
introspection, a bit of checking out your own ego, examining it, and I agree.
Yeah.
That's why for a lot of very young entrepreneurs I speak to, like I've spoken to some 16, 17, 18-year-old, budding entrepreneurs that have these ideas and so on. Sometimes some of the advice I give, not always, but sometimes, is don't pursue this. Go and get a job in a startup.
Yeah.
Because actually, because of this idea, while it might be okay or kind of good or maybe even great, you're not going to have the tool set to be able to execute this right now.
I'm with you.
And that's okay, because but what if some other people create the ideas? It doesn't matter. If it's you that's doing the idea, that's because plenty of people create competitive businesses all the time. You're a great example of that. What you're doing you're not offering services that haven't been offered before.
Yeah.
But you're offering them in a different way.
Yeah.
You and your approach is what's unique about it.
100%.
So you say, I want to do it now before it's too late. Other people are going to do it, whatever. So it's all right, calm down. You want to do it properly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's always that saying, it doesn't matter who did it first, it's a matter about who did it best.
Exactly.
Which is always important.
Yeah. Otherwise, if that was the case, half of the businesses wouldn't exist. Yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't do nothing. Because most businesses are built because someone saw something and thought, you've done it, but you haven't quite done it right. So I'm going to try. Yeah, that's
exactly
how it goes.
No one's going to go out and maybe try and build the next Google, but there are some businesses that are kind of bulletproof. But for the most part, it's.
Well, Chat GPT did. They tried.
Well, I guess you're right. Yeah,
similar. So that happens.
They've approached it in a different way. But the thing is, I think Google will ultimately win anyway, because they'll just absorb that.
They've been around for so long that they've learned so much during that time. Some businesses are almost like that saying too big to fail.
Have you seen the showcase they released a few months back about what they're going to be doing with AI?
No, I don't think so.
Crazy.
In
Google Workspace, they're going to be doing some insane stuff.
Think about how much information and data that Google has. That's not going to go to waste. Of course they're going to figure it out.
And so many businesses are built on, my business is built on, the Google infrastructure with Google Workplace. And they were showcasing how, in any of their tool sets, so, in Google Sheets, Google Docs, whatever, there'll be a built-in AI assistant. And, imagine being able to just, go in Google Drive and just being able to say, what's our policy on, paternity leave, and it just brings it up. But it finds your document, it brings it up. That's what it's going to be like. And so that's going to be hugely powerful. That will completely transform the way organizations, access and run their information and add to their information. It's just going to be, it's going to be big, I think. And that's what people really want, I think, out of AI for business. It's not quite there yet.
I think so. It's funny because I was asked this in an interview recently, and it was about why I think they asked a question about why Web3 kind of hasn't hit, or blockchain hasn't hit how it was expected to. And I compared it to AI, because blockchain was meant to change the business landscape and change everything and make everything more transparent, which is great. That's great. But what I looked at is artificial intelligence is such a big hit because it actually has use cases in business and in life. It actually has use cases where I might not know how to write this, but I might have writer's block or something. This will write something that will trigger me to write something else. People actually have real use cases, and businesses are looking at coupling that with automation, making things easier, saving time, and actually making them more effective as a business. Whereas with blockchain, I feel like it still has a place. I feel like Web3 still has a place, but I think the most important asset that blockchain has is NFTs. The reason why I say that is because NFT, the way it's being used now is, okay, it's a bit questionable. Everyone thinks this, etc. But I look at it from the brand communication perspective, the way Nike has used it, the way Starbucks has used it. They have used it to, be more personal with their community. If you have this token, X, Y, and Z, it just makes sense. You want to build your brand, your community. You can build a community on there and also offer incentives and keep people engaged through using that as a vehicle to do so. It's one thing that you make it easier. And even in order to be able to use the Web3, you have to be able to make it transition through Web2 enabled products. like through your phone, through your computer, whatever, that's still Web2. You still need to build that integration. So yeah, like
that was the big problem with Web3 is accessibility, right? And it was so, you know, friction heavy for anyone who didn't really understand an enormous amount of it, and those that didn't understand an enormous amount got screwed over. Got scammed. Like so many people got burnt by it, you know. And so like for me, it's a combination of things with Web3 and NFTs and blockchain and all that, especially with this in landscape of NFTs. Like, you know, it wasn't regulated, still isn't regulated well. And so people are, you know, grifting and scamming all over the place. The accessibility level of it was terribly, terribly poor and still is. Whereas then you look at AI, LLMs and Stable Diffusion have been around for ages, really, really long time. But all ChatGPT was, they were like, well, let's make an interface where anyone can use it. Let's make it accessible and make it easy to understand and make it safe. And they did that. And then suddenly it blew up. And then obviously we had people replicate it. So I think, you know, blockchain could learn a lot from that.
100%.
But, you know, the biggest issue there is, unfortunately, that it's tied with money. And so naturally, there's going to be a lot of issues there that need regulation and so on.
I agree.
I'm very dubious about the direction that can go in. I think there are some applications that, for me, you know, blockchain has behind the scenes from a technological perspective that are far more beneficial than, say, something like AI. You know, which is more customer facing. But even then, they're yet to be properly explored, which is a shame.
I think, you know, the timestamp and authentication piece is great. You know, I think that can be used, but all of these things I look at as like back-end stuff. You know, they still need an interface to kind of make it usable, even for a back-end infrastructure. It's still like all over the place. To be able to use it, you still got to build it.
Well, that's the problem with decentralization.
Exactly.
Like, it's a great idea in theory, but it's a bit like the idea of anarchy. It's just like, you know, if everything is all over the place, then no one who's in control of it, who's going to create the rule book for how it's managed. And that's the inherent problem with something that isn't managed by anyone in particular. It's open for abuse. And you can argue that over time, any unordered system slowly becomes ordered, but that's happened to a degree, and it just so happens it's become ordered in ways which aren't always which are sometimes malicious. That's the problem. You know?
Unfortunately, I think, you know, it's a great tool for community, and I think that can definitely be explored. In terms of, you know, saying that a whole country is going to run on that is very ambitious. I'm not going to say that it can't happen. It's just very ambitious. It looks like something that's a waste of time for me to try and figure out, or for someone to try and figure out how a company can run on that, because it doesn't really make sense. If we're looking at AI now, we're looking at Internet of Things. Those two come together, like it's amazing. But I still...
There's probably some crossover as well. Like, you know, there's a big conversation in AI about copyright, you know, and ownership and stuff like that. And then, of course, blockchain has a large, you know, part in safeguarding that. There's got to be some crossover there, especially when it comes to artwork and, you know, things like the rights to someone's voice in music or the right to someone's likeness and stuff like that. There's got to be something that can be done there in collaboration. But you know, the problem is, though, as well, as you know, in the world of investing as well, especially, is, you know, it's not sexy to talk about blockchain anymore. It's not sexy to talk about Web3 anymore. Now the sexy thing to talk about is AI.
Exactly.
So it's not going to get the money, which means, you know, we're probably not going to see this investment anymore.
Probably not.
In the same way that female founders in the medical world have been burned as a result of what is called that company. Oh God, I forgot the name of it now. Theranos. Web3 and NFTs have been burnt because of the scammy nature of NFTs. So it's you know, it's trends, it's fashion.
It's almost like that whole .com phase, right? Because even companies that were talking about, I'm going to do so much stuff in Web3, have now, you know, they killed that Web3 project. Now they're just focusing on AI.
Exactly. Just clout chasers moving from one thing to the next, basically.
You know, when the whole stuff was happening, I saw it and I was like, I don't see, even because I have to think for Hosthelp, if, you know, any new thing that comes, you have to look at future proof in your business, right? So I'm looking at, like, I don't see the most thing that we can do is add a payment system. Like, we can't, so you can use your crypto, but it doesn't, what else can we do? Like, I'm not going to add blockchain to a domain, or maybe like, does it make sense? Like, that's pretty time-stamped already. We don't really need to think about that, So
I've spoken to some great founders on this show, last season, and there was a couple I spoke to that are implementing aspects of Web3 and blockchain into their business in very smart ways that are coming up in future. And one of them in particular that really stood out to me, where he's talking about essentially making people's career history, putting people's career history in the blockchain, so it's verified that these people have actually worked in these places.
There's need for that.
And there's something there about actual individual identity and verifying truth in what people say and claim, especially when it comes to their experience and their knowledge or education, which I think is really interesting. Because when you talk about like some of the big issues facing the world today, truth or the lack of truth is a really big one, and people just being able to claim to be an expert or claim to have experience. So not just in the work, he was focusing more specifically on the workplace, and so people could verify people's experience, but actually broader than that, I think that's one area which could be really beneficial to mankind.
I agree.
It's just being able to verify, like, this person claims they went and studied, I don't know, psychology in university. And so is their opinion on Twitter valid? Like this person's talking about the problems of vaccines. Do they have any qualifications in that area? Like, can we check?
There's definitely a big need for that authentication piece, and that's why that's so important. And I think, just like how things work, we need great founders to come in and make that happen, because I don't have the time. You don't have the time. We're already tied up doing stuff. But one of the great things that we have working with new founders and new businesses, etc., is that we work with new founders, new businesses. So we are always going to be a part of this new things that's happening. We're always going to be at the cusp of it, which is great. So
it's exciting.
Able to help them in one way or the other to kind of build their business. So it's one of the main reasons I love doing what I do. I just get so pumped speaking to people about who are passionate about something and excited, and it rubs off on you, right? It does.
And it gets you out of bed in the morning and wants you to run your own business, and the same with the same passion.
Like, I'm with you. I'm with you. Go on.
That's why one of the number one pieces of advice I always give to first time founders is to go out and meet other founders, because it actually that sort of infectious
energy.
That energy is infectious. And let's face it, like, I don't know what it was like for you sort of coming up as an entrepreneur, but for me and for a lot of entrepreneurs I speak to, or founders I speak to, that a lot of their friends aren't in that mindset, right? So like, you don't really have anyone you can sit down and relate to in the things that you're going through and talking about. Like, otherwise you tell them like if you say like, oh, I'm about to quit my corporate job that pays $200K a year to pursue this thing, they'll be like, don't do that. That's not what you need to hear.
You're crazy.
What you need to hear is, you can do it. Yes, I believe in you. Have you thought about this? Like, I know someone that can help with that. And that's what you get from a network of founders, who are all just as fucking crazy as you are.
No, you're definitely right, because one of the things that I've seen is like, you have different conversations with different people. So for example, like I said, Kevin, who's one of our board members, like, when I told him that, I think I'm gonna have to go into this full time, he was like, you're probably going to have to, because the only way that you can really think about a business and really make a business work is if you throw yourself wholeheartedly into your business.
Right.
Whereas if I call mom and said, Mom, I'm going to quit my job and focus on this that makes no money, she'd be like, are you crazy? Like,
you've got mouths to feed, you've got bills to pay.
She would have a good conversation with me about that. But
that's it, because friends and family are emotionally invested in what it is you're talking about, whereas advisors or other founders, they're not. They're talking about they'll have some consideration to that, but it will be mostly practical. And it will be based on what is achievable and what is logical and what they believe of your skill set and things like that.
I mean, I was very fortunate, because my partner, she's done amazing stuff where she's she's building a hotel in Africa. Like, she's taken risks.
Oh, wow.
She's done a lot of stuff. She's had an exit as well from a business. Like, she's done a lot of stuff, and she's only like 25 now.
It's amazing.
And like, so when I was talking to her about doing it, she was like, you're not going to be happy unless if you do this, and that's crazy, because if I called any of my friends, like, they would be like, Oh, just stay where you are, man. Who you-
Yeah, but I mean, you're very lucky. You've got a woman there that has that mindset
Yeah.
already. She knows, and she knows you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
So she knows if you don't do this, you'll be miserable. And at the end of the day, that's not conducive to the family.
No,
Like to have a miserable husband and father.
no.
You know. Are you married? I just assumed you're
Not
married.
yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Oh, okay. You
yet.
got plans then?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
What, are you guys engaged, or is it just
Not yet.
not yet?
Not yet. There was. We've been. How long have we been together now? Since like 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we still got. Obviously, we've got a son now. That's definitely on the cards. There's just been so much happening.
Yeah.
No one's really thought about, because she's obviously 50-50 in Hosthelp. Without her, there'll be no Hosthelp. So, she put 50% of the money up when I was actually buying Hosthelp. So yeah, she's very much integral.
Right.
So
Key investor. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're doing stuff together. We've got 3 other businesses that we run together.
Wow.
And yeah, so there's just a lot happening, but we will get the time at some point to get our lives in.
Just keep it simple. I think if you're going to do it, keep it simple, because there's enough complexity in life. I worked with a founder who got married pretty recently, and he explained to me that it was like running a whole other startup.
Yeah.
So, because it wasn't a small wedding they did, and I was like, well, that's where we went wrong. We just did a small one.
No, definitely. I'm with that a small but big wedding, almost, because I only want people there that really wish me well in my wedding.
Right,
I don't want
that's
people
it.
that don't really wish me well.
Yeah. We had a wedding in this place. It was somewhere near Kent, I think it was, and it was like a forest wedding. We always, because we love festival. Well, we used to go to festivals and stuff. We haven't been for many years, but we wanted a festival theme, so it was like luxury camping, and then a campsite next to it. We had like a cabin and stuff, like open fires, and like it was just so amazing.
Nice.
And it was like, it was simple, like it was great as well, because the venue just organized everything. Right? Food, flowers, and everything. We just got like a couple of bands and a DJ. And it was incredible. So you don't have to do crazy to have an amazing experience. And everyone that has been still talks about it to this day as like unique and different.
It's the experience, exactly. An amazing experience.
Yeah, and we wanted festival food as well. So curried goat and like jerk chicken and swordfish, and like that's the kind of stuff you would get if you went to a festival. And it was
that experience. That's beautiful.
It was good.
So
that would be my advice. Go for something small but unique.
Meaningful.
Exactly.
Very meaningful. I love that. I love that.
But hey, man, no rush. At the end of the day, you do it when you're ready. You got any plans for any more kids?
Definitely. I think that's always going to be a kid. I think right now we have 4 kids plus our real kid. So we want to make sure that we get part. We need to get past a certain point. I think we start thinking about that again, because I think adding another month now is just not going to make sense.
Yeah, fair enough. How old is your son now?
2.
He's 2 now. Okay.
He's in a couple of weeks. So yeah.
Amazing. Fatherhood or parenthood as a whole has a lot to answer for when it comes to the way that you perceive the decisions you make in life as well. Like, I don't think people always talk about it, but I don't think it's really done justice. Actually what happens in your brain is really difficult to explain. There's some serious chemical changes that occur there, right?
You start thinking differently, definitely, because now you have a whole. Like, it's funny because when my son was born, I was, we went for him to come, like, it was great. Once he was born, he was actually going home. When we got home, I was like, wow, so this baby, this person is actually going to rely on us for every single thing, because he can't move, he can't walk yet, and he actually relies on us for everything. That's that's a whole new thing. It's different from having a pet, or you actually have a human being that can't fend for themselves. That's like a whole different ball game. So, you definitely switch the way you think, because we've all obviously had responsibilities from young, but this is a different level of responsibility where you have somebody's life in your hands.
It is the highest level. I mean, there's almost something kind of divine about it. And oddly, almost godly about it. It was you suddenly have that level of responsibility and control, and like going back to what you were saying, or what we were saying about like how you need to examine yourself, like it does that at such a level, because you're like, wait a minute, my flaws will imprint onto this young man or young woman, like so I have to be hyper aware of my flaws and do whatever I can to improve them, just as much as I need to guide this person through life.
Which is a big thing, you know, bad habits, things like that. Especially when I reached 30, I was like, the next 10 years, I definitely want to make sure that I really improve and work on myself, you know, because the years between, like, once a kid is born, or even before they're born, till they're about 7, 8, they're going to just be recording and learning everything, and how you make them, how you make them feel, how you make your significant other feel, the one you had the kid, and things like that. It's all going to be a factor in how they shape and grow their life. So I'm now super hyper aware of that, and any bad habits that I have, I'm just trying to kill them as soon as possible and replace them with good ones, because there's one thing to kill it. Now, without replacing it, it'll just come back. So filling that void as well with good stuff and learning more, and just trying to understand more about myself and things like that, so that I can pass on the right things, you know, because that's like, you don't think about that. I wasn't thinking about it when I was having a kid, but once we had the kid, I was like, oh wow, like, I really need to think about this.
And prepare them for the world. Like, that's the thing as well, which I think, you know, we somewhat think about, but actually when you really sit down and think about it, it's far more complex. Like, yes, you got to instill a certain set of values, and like we were saying, you know, make sure they're absorbing the right things and so on. But actually, what you're doing beyond that is, I think Jordan Peterson, for all of his faults, and you can have whatever opinion you want on the man, like, but like he made a really good sort of comment when he talked about the idea of parenthood is essentially to create like a micro version. I'm paraphrasing him, but to create like a micro version of the world. So that you know, so if they behave in a way that isn't appropriate, you call them out on it. If they you know, if they act annoying, you let them know they're being annoying, or whatever it might be, or you know, because the world is going to do that times 10. So if you if you don't expose them to how the world is going to treat them in any way, by the time you send them out there, they're going to be destroyed.
You have to be realistic.
And that's a very difficult thing to do, and it's a very difficult thing to do, I think, when if you're a single parent, you know, for example, because you know, you choose to pick the battles that you want to pick. Like, my mum raised me pretty much single-handedly, and I know for a fact that she you know, got to a point I was a pain in the ass as a kid. And I know for a fact that if you're on your own, you're going to pick your battles. But actually, you do want to call out every single thing, but it's exhausting to do that. But if there's two of you, you can give each other energy. You can say, we're doing the right thing. This is difficult. It's tough, but it's the right thing. You know, and I had to learn the hard way in my early 20s that, you know, like, you know, my teenage years. Okay, like,
you will. You know.
She did a good job. And to be fair, I think she you know, she did more. She picked more battles than most would. You know, to be fair to her. But it's hard, man. That's why it's a team effort. Sure.
It's definitely a team effort, man. I think you know, I think one of the most important things is, you know, having a kid and wanting to have a kid. When you do have a kid, it's like, whether you two are together or not, that child shouldn't feel that, you know, because both of you need to come together to be able to provide that kid that balance that they need, which is always a big thing, because without that balance, is like, you might be good at something, which is just true in everything almost in life, is that with your partner or with your kid's mother or whoever, you're going to need to realize that, okay, I might be good at discipline, I might be good at showing love, etc. So how do we come together to make sure that, you know, you need to make these decisions together, because people don't make those, even before you, like, way before you even have a kid, you need to having those conversations, because things like that, you don't want to be arguing with your significant other or whoever about your kid, or what they should and shouldn't be doing, because you guys are misaligned. Like, all these things are very important, and you know, how it affects your kid is astronomical, because there's certain behaviors that I have that I don't know why I have it, and I'm trying to figure it out. But I now have to think about, was it because my parents did X, Y, and Z? Is that why I do X, Y, and Z? Like, you just don't know, and then going through that deep journey, that you end up realizing, okay, cool. So because my parents did this, it probably made me want to do X, Y, and Z, but then you still don't really understand. You're still trying to dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
A lot of it's guesswork, but You're trying to do the best you can in analyzing it and breaking it down. Yeah, you won't always get it right, but yeah, man, it's tough. But look, we're coming towards the end of the podcast. But I wanted to end with asking you. We've talked a lot about some of the things you do when working with founders and so on. But I like to find out from my guests what do you see as sort of some of the biggest challenges as they are now for individuals starting their own business, and what sort of advice would you give out there? Because you've got a ton of experience. You've been through some tough periods, some high periods, some low periods. Like what do you think you've got that you can put out there that might be useful for people to hear? Because a lot of people listening to this are founders or first-time founders. So I'd be curious to know what you think.
I think one of the most important things about a business that you need to figure out early on is, one, how you're going to fund the things that you need, and also how that business is then going to make money. Because I think one of the things that I've realized, even for myself, is I didn't really know how my business was going to make money for a long time. And one thing that I've realized has killed a lot of businesses is people tend to dive into things that they don't really understand. Whereas, I've come from a tech background. I have a tech business, kind of makes sense. Whereas people I've seen, have maybe a footballer background and they're going into architecture. It's like, these are different things. You need to really figure out, if you're like, the founders that I've seen that have done really well are founders that have a background in what they're doing. So if you've been a doctor, you then know about the medical field. You can create a medical business because you understand how everything works. Like those three things, figuring out how you're going to fund the things you need, because you're going to need to spend a lot of money, whether you like it or not. You're going to spend money. Either you find that money. I'm not going to advise anyone to take a loan or take an investment 100%, because I didn't do it myself, so I wouldn't advise you to do that. But whatever your main income is, or whatever incomes you have, you need to then figure out how you're going to budget that to fund the things you need. Figure out how your business is going to make money, because you're making an investment. That's what you're doing. Like, people don't count themselves as investors. For me, I'm an investor first. That's where I came from. That's like one of my earliest experiences with business is investing, because I've been investing, even though I haven't maybe not been an official investor, but I've been investing from a very young age, because I've understood that if you invest something, you need to figure out how you're going to get back out of it, like how that is going to work for the long term. So
and over what period of time and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, you need to know these things. So that money aspect is very important, because ideally, I've seen founders that don't want to spend money and end up crashing because they don't know what to do next, because you need money to figure out things. That's the truth. You need money to find people to help you. You need, not all the time, but you may need money. You need to figure out, if you don't have a business that's going to make money or going to be a business, people won't want to help you because they're going to be wasting their time. They need to figure out what makes your business, what's going to make a business big, or make it a business that I'm going to be interested in, to be able to even leverage some form of equity or whatever, because there's no point having equity in nothing, because you might not need to pay somebody as a staff member, but they need to believe in your vision. They need to understand what you're going to do. You need to be super clear about what you're doing. And that's another thing, having that clarity on what your business is, what your business does, what you want to achieve with that business, what your vision, your mission. All of those things are very important, because you can start and then get to a point where it's like, okay, I don't really remember why I started this. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Who am I trying to help? And these things should be easily answerable. If somebody comes to ask you a question, what does your business do? Who are you trying to help? All these qualifying questions, even as an investor, if they ask you those questions and you don't know, that means you're not running a business that you understand. That's a very big issue. You need to understand those things to be able to build your client acquisition strategy, your marketing strategy, all of that stuff, because it's already built in your ethos, your architecture, your branding. You understand, I'm a business that is for this person. I'm going to go here. Super clear. That's it. Don't make it confusing. Just make sure you understand what you're doing, and you can build out from that.
Do you think that's ultimately why all of these other ventures that you were thinking about starting, you didn't start, like the food shop, the food truck, all these other things, because that's not your experience. And so you started looking into them and just realized there's a wealth of things I don't know here, I'm not comfortable with. Let's go with what I know. Do you think that's what stopped that, or was there some other force there that stopped that?
I think for me, I need to be passionate about something, because that passion is what's going to make me stay up 24 hours a day trying to make it work. Without that, I don't have a drive. That passion is my drive, and that's what's going to make me really do something. For example, we went to France. I don't really understand any French either since then, because I don't have a passion to learn it. That's the truth. My partner's been trying to teach me. Her family members are trying. I don't have the passion to learn, so I'm not going to do it. That's it.
That's almost an obvious thing to say, but it's very true, and it's worth saying. Like, unless you're all in, you're just nothing's gonna go in. It's just gonna bounce straight off. So
if you're starting a business to want to make money, just forget it, because you might as well just go and do something else that makes money quicker. Because starting a business, you need to really have, I don't even know what to call it, but you need to really have something that will make you want to do it so much. There's such a driving force that you don't care how long it takes for you to make anything. You just want to make it work. You want to really serve the people that you're trying to serve. And that's what will bring the success after. Because you saying, okay, I want to make 100K a year doing that, you might as well just learn a skill that will take you to make that. It's really that simple.
Having said that, I've met a few people in my career, in my life, that have taken the other route, and actually they've been, but their determination and passion is about making money.
Yeah.
And so whatever they decided to do, they would make it successful. Because it's they're driven, and they're like, and they've created businesses in something that they don't really have a huge amount of interest in, but they just know that it works. So like we hear about that quite often online. People talk about starting a side hustle, whatever. Find something that's automated or whatever, and like there is an element of just boring businesses, I think they call it, right? Running a boring business of something that just does something very, very simply, very, very well, and just scaling it. But you still need to have a level of passion and determination to make it successful. Even if it's not for the thing that you provide, you still need to have the passion for the process. And I think that's important, isn't it? Is loving the process. Because there's elements of every business that you don't enjoy. Like I hate sitting down and doing my accounts and my invoices. Right? I can't stand it. I want to be speaking with clients and stuff like that. There's plenty of parts of the business that I can't stand, and I'm sure you can't stand either. But you need to love the process. Because if you love the process, it doesn't feel like work. I
think what's really true there, and what's at the core of that, is you still love what you do. So even if you just want to make money, you love making money, that alone will spur you ahead to do what you want to do. To some degree, that side is definitely an anomaly, because some people just kind of have that thing in them. So it's that someone that does sales, they can sell anything. So they have.
But it's like what you said earlier. It's like you needed to prove it to yourself that you could do it. And I think that's a really important thing, because as soon as you're trying to prove it to someone else, it doesn't work. But if it's you that you're trying to prove, like, I can do this because if I know I can do this, or I need to prove that I can. That's a strong motivation. And especially if you're thinking to yourself, well, I need to do this with an open mind, because I also need to learn, and I need to get better at it. Like that's a strong, powerful thing too, because then there's an excitement of the unknown, of what are you going to learn, and that, because otherwise it's monotonous, and no one likes monotony. Sorry, I kind of hijacked your answer.
No, it makes sense. Definitely.
But no, it's a great answer. And I think you're absolutely right. Just sitting down and understanding the fundamentals, right? How am I going to make money? How am I going to fund this? Those are some really good practical first steps to take.
I can't express how many funders I've spoken to, and I'm like, not even for our services, but just in general, like, this is going to cost this much. These things are going to cost this much, and they're like, do we have to do that? It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, do you do this business or not? Like, I can tell you what we've done. I've done X, Y, and Z. I've used this place, I've used that place, I've used this, I've used that, I've used that. You don't need to use the same thing, but you need to figure out, is there a free version? It's like, I probably can't help you, because you don't want to invest. If you don't want to invest in your own thing that you're doing, then I I can't figure out how I'm going to help you there.
Exactly. Yeah, very true. And I've been in that position plenty of times too.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up, man. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
Yeah, like I said when we first spoke ages ago, like these 2 hours fly by. You'll be surprised, and it has. I caught at the time like about 50 minutes ago. I was like, really already?
Yeah.
But look, what have you got planned for the rest of the day?
More work.
More work.
We need to finish off our
that was a stupid question to ask a founder.
I'm reading this book, Traction.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting book. And I'm currently answering these 8 questions. Not sure if you're able to see it, but there's like 8 questions that thinks about in your vision component. Vision Traction Organizer talks about what are your core values, what is your core focus, what is your 10-year target, what is your marketing strategy, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, quarterly rocks, what are your issues. We're answering that today, and then looking at, revisiting that with the rest of the team as well. So me and my partner are doing that. She's our COO, so she's going to be largely in charge of actually implementing that and getting the team all on one page and things like that. So yeah, we're going to need to be answering those questions. That's what we're doing today.
Nice. Busy day then. Busy day. All right, man. Well, look, I'll let you crack on with it. Sounds like you got a lot to do. But let's keep in touch. And yeah, thanks for being the first guest on season 2, like letting me warm up my podcast hosting muscles along the way. I hope it hasn't been too painful.
No. It's been good, man. It's
good. And you'll have to come back on again, like in future. To hear the updates and hear how things are going and catch up.
I love that. It's only when you speak about your journey you realize, wow, this actually happened.
Yeah. And it's something to be incredibly proud of, because what you've achieved is incredible. Your story is incredible, and I'll be watching with like a cheerleader on the sidelines. So keep up the great work. So yeah, have a great day, great rest of the week, and we'll catch up again soon.
See you, man.
See you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching and/or listening. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments below.